Bonjour, friends. Bonjour, bonjour. Cynthia here. Welcome to another episode of The Crowned Voice. I am the queen of pageant talk, Laren Cynthia, and we have a great episode, a wonderful conversation coming up. I have three amazing women who are joining me today. So stay tuned. If you are a woman who competes in beauty pageants, I encourage you to watch and even share this. If you never competed in a pageant, you have no idea what they are about, but you are a woman you are an individual. You love everything about beauty and femininity. I encourage you to join us as well. So, bonjour, friends. Hello, everyone. Buenos dias, bon dia, bon dia. All of the greetings to all of you watching all around the world. Now, let me sign in my guests. I see one so far. Let me send some requests to get them on. Plugging in my guests here, making sure that everyone is on. As I said, I have three other women who are joining today. So there she is. All right. Good afternoon, beautiful. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am great, excited. I'm waiting for the other ladies to join in. Let's see where they are. Okay. And this is my first time having more than one guest, so bear with me, everyone. Okay, voila, I see number two. I don't see her yet, but her connection, she's signing on. There she is, number two. Good afternoon, Roseanne. How are you?
Good afternoon. Thank you. I had a little technical difficulty there for a minute, but I got back on. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Great, great. Now we're waiting for Jamie. Let's see if let's send Jamie an invite. And my friends, it says she's on. Okay, let's see how can we get Jamie on. My friends, if you're plugging in, bear with us. If you're watching, bear with us. I am getting all of our guests on this live. We're going to be talking about politics, so you don't want to miss this. Beauty pageant queens. There she is,
I made
talking about
it. I made
politics.
it.
Yes, we finally did it. So, as I said, everyone, we are speaking with three beauty pageant queens today, and we're talking about the power of voting. With me, I have Mrs. Roseanne Plant. She is actually a candidate for Iowa House of Representatives. She's also an
Mhm.
attorney, and she is Mrs. Agriculture America Elite. We also have Mrs. Tamara Abney. She is Mrs. Pennsylvania International. She is wife to Pennsylvania State House of Representatives, Arian Abney. Please pardon me if I mispronounced your husband's name. And she is also the founder of Sister Friend. And last but not least, we have Mrs. Jamie Hadfield. She is Mrs. Utah America, wife of former County Mayor Jeff Hadfield, and she's also a pageant coach. And I am Cynthia McLean. I am a library trustee here in Massachusetts and formerly Mrs. Massachusetts International. Welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm not going to keep you all. Friends from around the world, if you're watching this, share this live. We're going to talk about the power of voting, especially for women here in America. Now, our first question: what inspired you to get involved in politics, either as a candidate or to support your spouse's political career? Let's start with Tamara.
So, hi everyone, and I'm so excited to be here with all of you. I follow all of you and am just inspired by everything that you're doing every single day. So happy to be a part of this conversation. When I met my husband, I did not think that I would marry a career politician, but this is my life. And it's a great life. I really respect what he does and the sacrifices that he makes, and the sacrifice we make as a family, um, and that he is just doing a really great job for our community. When I think about, having your husband go half of the week and we have two little boys, it's a lot on a family. But I always try to think about the larger picture and the role models that we're able to be for the people in our community.
Thank you. Jamie?
Well, mine was pretty simple. My husband already had plenty of jobs. We own businesses, we own car washing, and we're in the car wash industry. He's a financial planner. I'm a pageant coach. And a few years ago, he just kept complaining about government and about politicians. And I one day just said, well, why don't you do something about it? And so he kind of looked at me like, what? And then I guess he started talking to people, and lo and behold, he had some political friends reach out and say, just meet us for breakfast. We just want to talk to you about, we think you should run for county commissioner. It's like the mayor of the county. And so he told me he was going off to this breakfast, and I said, yeah, I'll have fun with that. And then he came back and he said, are you with me? And I said, where are we going? Like, where? And he said, I'm going to run for county commissioner. And then I said, is that like a real job? I've never heard of county commissioner. Side note, I was born and raised in the country of Mexico. So I didn't know a lot of these political position names. And so he said, it's like the mayor of the county. Are you with me? And I said, okay, what do I have to do? And we threw our hat in the ring, completely no idea of what we were doing. I had never knocked on so many doors in 4-inch high heels in my life, but we were a complete grassroots campaign in the largest land county in all of the state of Utah. And he won. And he won.
Wonderful. All right, Roseanne.
Yes, well, thank you, Cynthia, for having me. I am 14 days from Election Day and the election of our lifetime here in America. There is this is a experience I will never forget, and this has been a goal of mine for 30 years. When I was in college, I spent a summer in Washington, D.C., and I actually worked at the White House Fellows, and I was bitten by the political bug many years ago. They call it Potomac fever. Is one of the reasons I went to law school, and then life happens. And so, but I think the timing is everything in life. And so this is the time. I'm running for District 13, House of Representatives here in Iowa. And it is also a situation where if I win, I'll be gone January through April, 5 days a week, and away from my spouse and in our home. It'll be 3 hours away. I live 3 hours from the state capitol. And you, as a trial lawyer, not many people want to give you 4 months off. And this was the time to do it. I actually went to a League of Women Voters event in March. I'm a volunteer lobbyist. I've been working for family law reform here in Iowa, and I was frustrated because my bill is stuck in committee, and there is only so much you can do as a volunteer lobbyist, as a concerned citizen. So I actually went to this meeting where they were going to have our representatives there to ask them, why is this held up in committee? And that's when it was announced that the person holding the seat now that I'm running for was retiring. And as I was leaving, I was behind two gentlemen who said, well, and not to get into, partisan politics, but I am a Democrat. I am a purple Democrat. There was two Republicans in front of me, and they said, well, these two men are going to run, and it'll just be a Republican. Nobody will run against them. And God put me in that spot at that moment, and I drove home and said, the time is now. I always believed that God would show me the right time in my life. And this was the right time. And I said, Jamie, like you said, like your husband said to you, I said to my husband, the time is right. I want to do it. We jumped in with 2 feet. We've been campaigning extremely hard for 6 months. I have a huge territory as well. It's 4 counties in Iowa. So it's very, very large. I've driven over 6,000 miles back and forth across 4 counties. And we're down to the last 14 days. So that's why I'm doing it, to help people I've met in the last 29 years of my career, people, neighbors, friends who have concerns, and they just can't get a voice at the State House.
Well, thank you, ladies, for sharing. I absolutely love politics. I love politics. Before moving here to Massachusetts, I was involved in Miami, behind the scenes on the other side, helping elected officials become elected officials, grassroots, get out the vote, all aspects, polling, voting, um, cold calling, knocking on doors, absentee ballots. I absolutely love it. This is the first time I came on the other side and actually ran for office here in Massachusetts. So tell me, ladies, I know this is a bipartisan conversation. Some of us are Democrats, some of us are Republicans on here. If you choose to say, fine. If you don't, that's fine. What we are here to do is, as pageant queens, see the comparisons in a campaign and preparing for a pageant. I believe there are a lot of similarities. I
Ton.
mean, time. I mean, the commitment, the dedication, the preparation. Let's talk a little bit about what it takes, what you've seen, and what your experience is. Let's go with Jamie.
Well, my husband always says his experience in pageantry, working alongside me and going to events, he says, and that experience compared to politics, he says they're actually exactly the same. He says politics and pageants, same thing. He says just the view in pageants is a lot better. That's what my husband always says. And I'm like, he's like, in politics, he's like, just a bunch of old men in suits. That's what he always jokes about. But yes, the view in pageantry is much better. So many beautiful women with so many accomplishments. But the real secret is just trying to connect with people in a pageant. You know, when you stand or sit across from your judge, your goal is to not try to impress them. I always teach my clients, your goal is to try and bless them. And the way that you
Mm,
bless somebody is by just being you, not feeling like you have to use fancy words to get their attention or to impress them. It's speaking on their level, like on layman's terms. A
right,
quick example is one time my husband, when he was the mayor, came home and told me all about this hearing he had. And I said, hold on, let's try to break this down to like a first grade level, because that's how you want to explain it to the people,
right.
because most of us don't understand the political words. And so he said, I had a hearing. And I just said, what's another word for hearing that a first grader would get?
Right.
Oh, a meeting. Okay. So I said, I had a long meeting. We just kind of break it down that way to make sure you talk to people's hearts, make it in a way that they understand instantly. It's like instant name recognition. Like if I say the word Nike or Target, you all have a visual of, oh, Nike or Target, like the red color and a bullseye. You have to break the big fancy words down to small ways that we learn, because we are all kind of like first graders. That's how we learn, especially when it comes to politics. And so when you talk to them on their level, you connect. And that's what you have to do with your judges. You've got to talk to them on a first grade level, I always say, because then they understand you. They feel like you're not talking over their head. And then they connect with you and they see you more human-like, and that's what impresses them. So I always tell my clients, and I would tell my husband this, work on being blessive, not impressive. Don't try
I
to push the
like that.
impress.
I like
We
that.
don't have to try and impress people. We all have that one friend that tries too hard to impress. We've probably all been that friend at one point, right? But just try to bless them, and that's getting on their level, and then you become impressive. And that's the secret to winning politics and pageantry.
Tamara?
Yes, I think Jamie made some really good points. I also want to add that we've been through a number of campaign cycles here with my family. And whenever I decided to get into pageantry, I always kind of looked at it like a campaign. You know, you have something that you are really super passionate about and you want to see a change in the world. How can I get that messaging out and motivate people to either take interest in it or at least support it? So in my particular passion journey, I thought about like the power of social media. What do visuals look like? You know, what is my messaging? Who do I want to connect with? Not only in pageantry, but in the community that can help me with my platform. My particular platform is menstrual equity, and it's something that I've been doing for the past 10 years. In fact, that's how I met my husband. He I events with pads and tampons and a tank top on, but but I really thought about how can I use pageantry to elevate what I was doing? How can I get more attention for the young women, the girls, and making sure that I get menstrual products in schools? And because of pageantry, and my personal connections, we've been able to open those doors, been able to advocate on a statewide level to ensure that we get $300 million advocated for menstrual health
Wonderful.
districts. But I think if you don't have a clear message and a clear platform and have that platform be very developed so that other people can come on board, I think that is really how campaigns and pageantry is very parallel to each other, because you got to have the same thing going on.
Right. Right. Roseanne, I know that you have to get back on the campaign trail, so I won't keep you. Would you like to share your thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. So I agree with everybody, and it is about branding, okay, and it's about charisma. But the thing that has stood out to me the most in parallel to pageantry is the girl or the woman that wins on the stage is the one that is able to communicate that they're ready to go on day one and that they have a plan. And we know successful queens, that's what makes a winner on stage. And so that is exactly what I have done. Is every time I go to a forum, every time I do a Facebook Live, every time I talk to somebody at a door, at an event, is I tell them, this is why I stand out from everybody else, which that's a very pageantry thing that we train
Right.
on. Okay, what makes me different than these 30, 50, 60 women? Okay, what makes me stand out? And what can you do on day one? As a matter of fact, that's part of my verbiage is I'm the candidate ready to go on day one. And in my case, I write legislation already. And the other person in the race has never done that. So that is a powerful tool to say, I've written legislation at all three levels, state, federal, and local. And I'm going to walk in on day one and file a bill. And I've already told people about my plan. If I'm elected, I'll be doing town halls immediately. And so that's the thing I've concentrated on. What can I do for you? And then I think the other thing that makes a great queen and a great politician and I don't like politician. I am telling people I want to be their servant leader, is that you serve them and you serve them with a heart of love and grace, and that you're there with them in times of problems, because nobody's going to call their state representative unless they have a severe
Right.
problem. And here in Iowa, we have some tremendous problems with our education system, with vouchers, with AEAs, which is special services with people who have children with special needs, and people are suffering. Truly, families are suffering. And I want to I say that I have a brain and I have the knowledge and the wisdom, but I have the heart to lead. And I think you have to make that personal connection, and that makes you stand out. So those are the things that I've been
I want to
concentrating
ask
on.
you also for the what do we mean by, and I want to start with you, Roseanne, what do we mean by the power of voting? Why is it so important to
Oh,
vote? Why are we here today encouraging women, encouraging everyone who watches this to vote, particularly in this coming election? What is the power of voting? Why should people even care?
well, they should care because, first of all, we're unique in the world. We have a democracy that is truly still an experiment and is truly still at risk. It is the great experiment. If you study history like I did in college, we have to protect our democracy. Not every country has a democracy, and we are very special. And so this is the election, I like to say, of our lifetime, but perhaps of our country's lifetime, because some people feel that democracy is on the line. For women, I can't stress this enough. All of the ladies on here, we all grew up in an era where you could vote. And, we had women, strong women like us, who didn't have the right to vote, and they had to fight for that. And it absolutely just breaks my heart to think that there are women out there who take it for granted, because it always wasn't a right. And if we don't exercise it, ladies, you never know what's going to happen. And women are over half of the electorate right now. We have amazing power. In Iowa, we have a huge issue on the ballot, which is reproductive rights. We have a very restrictive, one of the most restrictive 6-week abortion bans. It is incredibly affecting women here in Iowa. We have people that are dying because they can't get reproductive health care. We're losing our young doctors because nobody wants to practice here because we have a law that's unclear. So the issues on the ballot are very centered on women. And if we do not, as a delegation, get out there and vote, it's going to be, a catastrophe for women. And so I tell people, my grandma came from Poland when she was 2 years old. She was a naturalized citizen, and she used to take me to vote every time. She'd get all dressed up and
Wow.
we'd walk to the polls. And she said to me, yes. And when I voted the first time for president, she had a dinner party for our family. And I'll never forget. And when I vote 2 weeks from today, that moment, I get a little emotional. That moment's going to be for my Polish grandma who came to America to give me a better life, who only had an 8th grade education, but wanted her granddaughter to have a college education. And I'm going to go vote in her honor and her memory. And every woman, we have the chair of our party here in Iowa, the Democratic Party. She lost a election to a U.S. Senate seat by 6
Oh, it's
votes.
possible. I
By
know it's
six,
possible. It really
six
is.
votes.
Yeah.
Every vote counts. So I tell people, if you don't want to vote for me, I understand that, but just vote. Please get out and vote. It is a fundamental right we must
Jamie?
protect.
Well, I believe we should all vote because I saw firsthand that most people actually don't. When my
Mhm.
husband was running for his first run of county commissioner mayor, election day, I was just a hot mess because I was like, I have worked so hard. I'm like, we've got to win this political pageant. That's how I felt. So I remember I just
Mhm.
drove to all the polling places and I was just stuck and I had my Diet Coke and I would watch to see if people were showing up to vote. The voting booths, the polling places were so slow. And as
Mhm.
I sat in the parking lot and like stalked, all I saw were people my parents' age or older getting out of their cars to go vote. I never saw a 20-year-old or probably a 30-year-old or even a 40-year-old.
Yeah.
All I saw were men with wheelchairs, walkers, women in the same situation. And it really hit me because I saw this firsthand. Most people in my age group, probably and younger, I'm 47, they just kind of don't care. And I thought that was so sad. And I'm really grateful I saw that firsthand. But most of the people who can go and vote are like my grandparents' age, the ones who
Wow.
care. And I think they care
Mhm.
because they've lived through some really, really hard times. They grew up in the Great Depression. They went through World War II. They went through the Vietnam War. They get it. And I think the biggest problem we have is people just don't think it's that big of a deal, or they think their vote doesn't count. But I can actually agree with how your vote counts because my husband's first campaign, he won by, I think, like 110 votes in the largest land county in
Mm.
all of the state of Utah, a big county, like by barely 110 votes. That's not very many votes. And so I just thought if we would have just had a few of the 20-year-olds in my county come and vote, the vote would have been totally different. Maybe I'm glad they didn't come. I don't know. But nobody younger really gets out to vote. And I saw that firsthand, and that's really, really sad. In my husband's very tight race, he ran against a man named Jeff. My husband's name is Jeff. There were two Jeffs on the ballot. It was kind
Oh
of confusing.
wow.
Oh
So
my
Jeff
goodness.
against Jeff. And he barely won by 110 votes. I'm so grateful for those 110 people. What if just
10
that group
people.
had just said, I'm not going to go. He's got it in the bag, or I'm too tired, or they had an excuse. Those people are what made my husband become the county commissioner because they actually took the care to go do it.
Tamara?
Voting is a right, and it's a right that we all need to exercise, especially as a woman, especially as a woman of color. Our elections matter. And I think,
Mhm.
of course, people hopefully will come out in droves because it's a presidential election, but I also want to highlight that local elections are important, and voting on off years are just as important.
Agreed.
People call my husband's office to talk about, potholes or what's going on in the schools. And I don't work in the office, but I'm adjacent. His people have that is at the state level. So you need to vote for the people that actually can fix the potholes, that actually can make the difference in schools. And that's school board, that's your city council, that's your or your county commissioners. Every step of the process, every you're on the trustee of the library. All of those positions matter to the community. It's just not the president. It's the people that are close.
Agreed.
That you need to get out for. And it's really also about engagement and keeping people energized about what's going on. The onus on actual, government officials. They need to go back into the community and not take their constituents for granted. They need to be doing the grassroots things that they did to get elected. They need to, like right now, my husband is out. He doesn't have an opponent currently, and he's up for re-election on the ballot in 20 days. But he's out there helping other candidates, by giving out t-shirts and making sure that they have yard signs, because it's really about getting the whole community engaged and making sure that not only the young people get to the polls, but the seniors get to the polls, and that people understand early. And, making sure that, people that may need help filling out like a mail-in ballot or getting to the polls, they have resources as well. This election is, every election is an election of your lifetime, right? Like every election we're in. I think that there are some very important things on the ballot as far as, the values of each candidate. And you really have to dig deep in your heart and vote for the person that really is representative of the country that you want and the country you want to live in and what would make your community better. So, this is nonpartisan. I care who you vote for, but I don't care who you vote for. I just want you to go out and vote. I want you to vote, engage. I want you to do your research, your real research. Candidates, like, do they actually have policies that affect you and your family? And just don't listen to what you see on the news. Like, you actually need to
Amen.
Yes.
I keep moving. If you notice, I keep moving because my landscapers are here. I plant alive. I didn't coordinate with the landscapers, and I keep hearing the noises. I'm sorry, Tamara. You want to complete what you were saying?
Yeah, no, I just want people to do their own research and have their own knowledge base of each of these candidates, whether, from the local level all the way up to the presidential level, because, unfortunately, it's politics. People are going to say a lot of things. People are going to put a lot of things on your television. And sometimes it's just literally sound bites from things, and they're putting it together. Sorry to tell you about the secret sauce and how the sausage is made. A lot of different,
it's true,
not always based in truth. So you, as an informed, citizen that has the power to vote and to put these people in office, you have to do your part as well and not just depend on what you see on TV.
Roseanne, before you leave, I would like for you to leave us with your message on the power of voting again and political participation. But tell our viewers, and if you have to leave after this, feel free to go because I know you have to campaign. But Jamie and Tamara and I, we will continue our conversation because we like politics. Roseanne, tell us, how can someone get involved if they don't plan to run for office, or even if they do plan to run for office?
Okay. Well, first of all, I blocked an hour off, so I'll stay on with you ladies because I blocked my lunch hour for you. But there are so many ways to get involved. And I want to just go back just a little bit to the last question, and that is I encourage people to have a plan to vote. You can vote early, and we're having huge turnouts here. Jamie, you'll love it. You had the opposite experience. We have lines already here in Iowa with early voting. So you can vote by mail, you can vote early voting. So what can you do to get involved? So much you can do. You can go to your local party, and there's tons of volunteer opportunities, door knocking, phone calling, postcard writing. Right now, we're recruiting volunteers to help people get to the polls. We have some people who don't have vehicles. I'm in a rural district, and so maybe driving into the county courthouse is a little bit of a stretch for them doing it early. So we're providing rides to the polls and back and forth free rides. We put the notice in the county newspaper and the local city newspapers. But there is so much you can do for a candidate. You can deliver signs. You can drive that candidate to go door knock. It's good. It's a safety thing to go and to choose. I think it's a safety plan. And so I don't like to go out to the doors by myself. So I always have a driver that goes with me, and that you can be that driver. You say, I don't want to door knock. Candidates need to eat. I've had some just wonderful people, bring me a meal or provide a sandwich because I'm out, till all hours of the day and night. So whatever your talent is, there is a job for you or a volunteer position. And if you become very involved, of course, we're always looking for county chairs, but I have met the most lovely people. And last night, I'm blessed with 4 counties. So I have 4 county different committees. And last night, I met with the Plymouth County Democrats in Lamar's, Iowa. And I thank them because they really have become like my political family. No candidate can do this by themselves. I repeat, it takes a village. It takes a village to become a queen and to have a successful reign, and it takes a village of people to support a candidate. Of course, there's always the fundraising, and money is always good. As pageants go, politics are expensive. And things cost a lot of money and ads and signs, but not everybody has money to give. So I tell people, if you don't have money, if you could tell 10 friends, if you can talk to the ladies in card club, if you can talk to your children's, the ladies in your children's group, it's really about making those connections. And so there is a multitude of ways that you can get involved short of being the candidate, because that is a huge, huge commitment. But every candidate has an army behind him or her. And I've been blessed with an army. And so those people, whatever your talent is, we can find you a job.
Tamara?
With the question, I think I think she answered it.
Okay. I forgot as well. Look, I just turned 54. And
About what the question was, what can you do to help a candidate? But short of running, how can you get involved in politics? That was the
thank
question.
you, Roseanne.
Um,
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much. I think I'll be 44. I'm not quite there, but
Okay, well, get ready for
get
menopause and the
ready.
hot flashes and forgetting things for 5 seconds. Um,
Someone do. I guess from my perspective, I think that you can be kind. I like it when people are
Mhm.
to my husband, because politics can be such a polarizing thing. I think that even supporting the candidates' families. I know that I've worked polls during election time, and I've had such wonderful people come and bring me food as I'm standing there
Mhm.
and check up on me to make sure that I was protected. And are just wonderful to our boys when we go to events and understand that we have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they're going to run around this community meeting. And having the people in the neighborhoods, give them cookies and make sure they have juice and all of that good stuff, so that their father can stand in the front of the room and try not to be interrupted by his 2 sons that like to stand up there with him. So I think being kind, of course, donating money, donating your time, door knocking, all of those things that come along with the political landscape is helpful. But yeah, just know that these candidates are human beings. They have families,
Mhm.
and they're just not, who you see on the mailer. They actually are just real people that, when they're off duty, if you could be off duty, they're just maybe at home and want to sit on their couch and watch Netflix with their wives or play, in the yard with their kids. They do have lives outside of politics too.
Jamie?
I always say $5 goes a long way. If every person that supported my husband had donated $5, we could have won that election by, I don't know, 10,000 votes. And so a lot of times people will say, well, I just don't donate, I don't have the money. But you know what? $5 from each person
Mhm.
in our county would have been a huge, huge donation altogether. And so we a lot of times think, so I don't think we don't have money to donate, or our budget's tight. But if there's somebody you really appreciate who's thrown their hat in the ring, that's going to basically put themselves out there so you don't have to run, right? Give them $5, give them $10. I was so impressed with how many people would just come up and say, I don't have a whole lot, but would you take this $5 bill? Those people touch me so much because I always thought you had to donate big or, at
No.
least 100, or more. And some people just gave us a little bit, and that goes a long way because $5 is one yard sign. Maybe it's more now,
Mhm.
but it was $5 back when we were campaigning. And a yard sign,
It's seven
a
dollars
yard
now.
sign in every neighborhood goes a long way because name recognition is a really big thing. So I say $5. The second thing I'll say, other than donating money and your time, if you can, I had family that did phone calls for us all the way in Mexico because they volunteered, but they were not even U.S. citizens, but they spoke English perfectly and they were family and they offered to help us. Those family members made a huge difference in our lives, just taking the time one day to make phone calls. And phone calls is great, knocking on doors. And the last thing I'll say, and I need to get to it, I'm a pageant coach. I teach people how to get to the point, yet I struggle with that myself. So remember, as we've mentioned, like give those candidates grace. Remember they're humans, and always remember you can never believe everything you hear. Everything negative we hear about candidates, most of it I've learned is not really true. Sometimes my husband would have a closed door session, like legal session as county commissioner, where he was not allowed to talk about the issue in public. And then the newspaper would just get a little snippet of information, or somebody would get a little rumor mill of gossip and write a letter to the editor. And my husband was not allowed to legally comment or defend himself because he was supposed to stay legally quiet. And then they would spin it, and he would be like, that's not exactly what happened. That's not what I said. And that taught me give every candidate grace, even the ones you think you hate. You can't believe everything you hear.
That is so interesting you said that, because remember I said I love politics and I've been in it for a while on the other side. And when I came into pageantry, my pageant coach, her biggest issue with me was I was so diplomatic. Remember being in Miami politics, you're diplomatic. You're not a liar at all, but you're diplomatic. You say things like you said, your husband was in a meeting and publicly he could not say certain things. And if he did, he would have to say it a certain way. So, my pageant coach, when I was prepping for interview, it was the hardest thing to get me to say exactly what the answer was. It was so hard because she was like, Cynthia, say it. And I'm like, well, it depends on who's, politics, right? So, um, I don't know. I just wanted to share that. Things can be so nasty. People can be so mean
Mm-hmm.
and so nasty. And as a politician or someone who is in politics, um, as a politician or someone who is married to someone in politics, you have to be very careful how you respond. Extremely careful
Yes.
respond. No matter what the attack is, you are the one that has to be careful in the way that you respond. So let's talk about the hot topic now, ladies. The hot topic that the Crown Voice is known for. Who are you supporting? Who are you supporting? Nah, I'm not. I mean, you can say if you want to. I would like to know, are you Republican? Are you Democrat? Who are you supporting? That kind of stuff. All right. If you don't want to, fine. What issue is most important to you in this current election? But I would still like to know who you're supporting.
Um,
I'm like,
Well,
who's gonna go first?
I'll-
Who's gonna go first?
uh, so all everything I'm saying is a view of my own, of Tamara Abney, not of the International Pageant. I am supporting Kamala Harris. I am a Democrat. I think for me, the most important issue on the ballot is women's rights, women's reproductive rights. I mean, I've been in this space for, like I said, over 10 years. So everything that has to do with having autonomy over our bodies is just extremely important to me. And she's my sorority sister, so I just feel
Oh,
Oh,
I'm a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And I think that, just having a woman of color, a woman that has a immigrant background, through both of her parents, actually, I just think is really incredible, and, very proud to support her.
I am also supporting the vice president as well, but I want to have my comments more at the state level because obviously I'm running for state office. And I have my little branding. There's my little button. And you'll notice that there is a lot of purple. And so I'm running in a very red district, a very Republican district. And I took a deep examination of my political beliefs. I grew up Democrat. And I realized, though, after studying the issues and studying my views, that I'm actually really a purple Democrat. And so, for those who don't understand that, that means, Democrats are blue and Republicans are red. Well, I'm truly purple. I'm a very conservative, moderate Democrat. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm more centrist, okay? And I have encouraged people, and it's in a red district. I have said I think Republicans have good ideas too, and I think Democrats have good ideas, and I think they both have bad ideas sometimes. So I've been encouraging people to do their homework, but to vote for the best candidate, not just somebody who has an R or a D behind their name. And so that has been my focus because I did take a chance. Matter of fact, it's interesting. My Republican opponent comes from a deeply Democrat household, and his grandpa was 3 terms as a local county supervisor. So it's very controversial that he felt he had to jump the fence, so to speak, and turn Republican so that he could win. And I believe that you can be true to your ideals, true to your thoughts, true to your upbringing, which was Democrat for me. But you can look at each issue individually. And yes, people say to me, do you have an issue that's Republican that that you agree more with them? And I say yes, and I give them an example of that. But that's how I think people should look at it is who do you think is the best individual? Obviously, that's more at the state and local level, but that's what I'm concentrating on. People ask me about national issues all the time, and I'm prepared to answer questions about the border and those things. But I was in the middle of the country, ladies, so it's not really an issue for us. And I say I want to talk to you about issues here in Iowa that you're going to call me about at the State House. So that's my answer. But I am also supporting the vice president. But that's how I encourage people to do their research and vote at the state level.
thank you. Jamie?
well, I am not excited about either Trump or Kamala Harris. I think of all the people in our country, that's who we're left with. I think about that often. Not to say that they're not good, but of all the people in our country, that's who our final 2 are. In a way, I feel like that's kind of sad because I just think that there's more qualified people that could be running for president. But with that being said, my number one issue being from Chihuahua, Mexico, is the border. My family still lives down there. My dad's Mexicano. My mom's originally from Utah. And we have seen firsthand, and it just gets me emotional. We have seen firsthand and experienced firsthand the atrocities of the drug cartel. I myself was kidnapped when I was 21 in Mexico, and I was taken against my will and released a few hours later. So the border issue is extremely important to my family. My family is Mexicans, agrees the United States should secure the border because right now the Mexican drug cartels are so powerful that they are ruining our country. And they are powerful because they are not being stopped. Right now, the drug cartel is making more money on humans than they are making on drugs. Years ago, just a few years ago, drugs was their number one product. That's not true anymore. Now humans is their number one product. And I don't say this as conspiracy theories. I'm telling you this from firsthand perspectives. Humans are being trafficked by the cartel. They are being brought in buses, hundreds, right up to the border fence and being let in right into our country. Now, do I think that some of those people probably really are refugees? Absolutely. And I was so to speak, born to privilege in Mexico, but I saw firsthand poverty right across the street. There was no zoning. It's like there was a big house next to a small house. And I've never been in a desperate situation, luckily, but I know why they're coming. The ones who want to come, I know why they want to get here. But we need to do it legally, because right now, with an open border, we are empowering the drug cartel, and it's hurting my country. And it's not just from the United States. And I have family members in Mexico that keep saying, why do I just see thousands of Chinese immigrants in my state, in Mexico, trying to get to the United States? Who are we vetting? Who's coming? I see them at checkpoints myself. I go to Mexico and stay for weeks every summer. I'm actually going in December for 2 weeks. I see firsthand at the checkpoints that the Mexican military has that it is full of people from other countries, and they're all headed north to the United States. This really concerns me.
How did
And
we
so
get
that is
here? How did we get here, Jamie?
we
How
we
did we get
allowed
here?
we allowed an open border. We allowed an open border, plain and simple.
Because I'm from the Bahamas. My family are from Haiti. I came here when I was 13. Thankfully, I came here with what we call a green card. My mother was able to facilitate that for me. But I remember from way back then, people were always coming to the United States. This was the place to be. Everyone wanted to come here. Everyone came here. It was not a problem. Why? How has it gotten to be a problem? And what
Uh,
is the problem? Let's talk about that, ladies. What is the problem?
well, so people have always wanted to come to this country, right? Obviously, I am in the United States, but you know what? I came in legally. Even though I had an American mother, I waited in line every year at the American consulate to get my paperwork up to date. I waited in line to get my social security number when I was 16. My foster brother that my family took in, he's been waiting in line to get his paperwork. And what's very frustrating to me is that you can walk right up to the border fence and tell the Border Patrol, refugee, refugee, and they are supposed to allow you in. But yet, this just happened a few weeks ago. I was in Mexico. I have American citizenship now. I had a car full of Americans, and we sat at the port of entry in a border line for 3 hours as legal citizens in the most dangerous city in Mexico, waiting to get into the United States. And we get right up to the border, and there's a border patrol agent that makes you roll down your window and declare your citizenship before you can even get into the American line on the American side. And I'm thinking, I've been waiting for 3 hours to cross in here as a legal American citizen. But yet, just a mile down the road through the desert, I watched over 100 people walk right in, no questions asked. I don't think
Oh,
that's right. And those people who just walked right in just had to say refugee, refugee. Some of them probably are, and some of them I know are not. They got to come right in, but yet we Americans are treated the way we had to wait in line for 3 hours. And then the Border Patrol agent, when we finally got to the gate, asked me the million questions. Well, who are you? And what are you coming from? Why do you have a different license plate? Why is your license plate now a black one? Because I changed from the Ski Utah to just the regular black license plate. And I said, honestly, I have a really cool black SUV and I thought it would look cool. Like that. I had to tell the Border Patrol agent why I'd even changed license plates in the last 6 months since I'd crossed back and forth into Mexico. I got asked a million questions. I got treated like I was a criminal. But
as a
just
lawyer, Roseanne,
a mile down the road in the desert, I could have walked right in. I don't think that is right. And I'm saying
Roseanne,
that as
you
a proud Mexican American.
Roseanne, you are an attorney. Thank you for sharing that. Roseanne, you are an attorney. What do you like? Please chime in as far as legality is concerned here.
Sure. Well, the problem is that I just returned from an international trip as well, and I waited in line to get back into my country from Italy. We returned from Italy, and we're really talking about two different organizations. You've got the border control with the tourism, and then of course you have the border out there in the desert, which is the border, a different part of the border control. And so I do think what happens is that we need a better and stronger and more organized way to get individuals who are not just tourism or back and forth like Jamie. We need a more streamlined system. Obviously, we need. I don't think that the border is quite as bad as it's being portrayed. I understand it's getting better, but yes, we do need more guardrails and we do need more systems so that people can be processed and start contributing to the society and get those green cards. Part of the problem is, unfortunately, that the immigration system, the immigration court system, is incredibly behind and incredibly understaffed right now. And I can tell you that that is a priority, that the current system, they're trying to hire judges and attorneys and process people in that system. And that is going to be one of the priorities, I understand, if the vice president is elected. So though I understand Jamie's frustration, the problem is that we've got two different organizations at play. And like I said, I stood in line for probably 2 hours to get back into the United States. I understand the frustration, but it's two different things, and that's what people don't always understand. But I think we are going to see increased avenues to citizenship, which is a bedrock to America. I mean, I think all of us on here are only 2, 3, or 4 generations from what my grandma used to call the old country. We're all immigrants, and that's what makes our country so amazing. The differences is what makes our country special and number one in the world. And so we don't want those immigrants not to be able to come, but we need to have more of a pathway to citizenship that's orderly and protects the border and protects our citizens as well.
Tamara, would you like to chime in?
But that my people did not come over as immigrants.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Different. But I 100% agree that we should have pathways to citizenship and people should follow those pathways.
Yeah, I believe, I don't understand how we got here. Again, from the time I was a little girl, everyone wanted to come here. We didn't even have the technology that we have today. I mean, we had the customs agent. You know what? I'll never forget this story. Let me share the story real quick. I came over here for school when I was, I think, 11. And I came on a visa and I stayed for school. And when I went back to the Bahamas and it was time to come back to school here, the customs agent said to me, why are you staying so long in Miami? And I'm like, oh, I'm visiting family. I lied, right? But I was actually going to school. And he canceled my visa. That was I mean, it still has an impact on me. He canceled my visa and said, you're not going back. And that's when my mom went through the process of getting the green card for me to be able to come back and go to school. But I said all that to say this: back then, they were doing all of that without technology that we have today.
Mm-hmm.
They had pencil and paper and stamps and, and we
The
didn't have a border
dinosaur ages.
problem. What happened? Like, really, what happened? There were thousands of people coming to America all the time. What happened? That's all. I don't get it. I mean, what is the problem? We have technology, we have better resources, we have better training. Why is there an immigration problem? That's all. That's all.
I have a
So,
lot to
um,
say. I'll just not say anymore.
yeah, well, I know a lot of people on this live are surprised that beauty pageant queens have a lot to say and are very articulate when it comes to politics, immigration, and governmental issues. Okay, ladies, we're going to wrap it up. What are your 30 seconds concerning this election, 2024, 2025? What do you want to say to the people who are listening to you, Tamra?
I would like to say, please go out and vote. There are a number of different ways that you can vote. Here in Pennsylvania, our voter registration yesterday. So right now it's go time. So make your plan to vote. Call a friend, call a family member, see if they need help. Get your mail-in ballot. You can actually take your mail-in ballot and hand it in person. to the elections office, or, go same day. But just please, please, please vote. Pay attention, do your research, and vote your heart and vote your values.
Jamie?
I actually want to answer a few of the questions that I've seen in the comments, and there's been some talk about families being separated at the border by Trump, etc. I think I saw a comment a second ago about putting kids in cages at the border. And in my firsthand experience, and I have some American Mexican cousins who are border patrol agents on the American side, and I've learned a lot from them. And this is part of my drug prevention platform as Mrs. Utah. So I feel like I'm not just throwing out as conspiracy theories, but things that I hear firsthand and see firsthand from
Okay.
being from both lands. President Obama was accused of putting kids in cages, and so was Trump. And I want to actually explain about the cage thing. You know what? There's such a human trafficking problem that if my child had been trafficked, I would be really grateful the American government, no matter who was president, had gotten a hold of my child and secured them inside of the border facility and put them in, so to speak, cages to keep them
Oh,
away
okay.
from traffickers. And a lot of people don't realize that that's why it was done. It's to help protect the kids. And so it does sound very harsh in the news. Again, you can't believe everything you hear. Oh, we put kids in cages. That does sound really harsh. But they don't, the Border Patrol buildings aren't facilitated for daycare, right? So they have to do things to try and secure in a quick way. And that was one thing that they had to do to keep the kids safe. And so I just want to point that out, that I think that both administrations have been accused of this terrible thing, but in reality, I've seen both a Democrat president and a Republican president try to do those things to protect the kids from the reality of human traffickers. And I want to point out the human traffickers are the drug cartel, and they are one and the same. So I just want to answer those few questions that came through with because of the commentary on our live right now. So I hope that helps.
Thank you, Jamie. Roseanne?
I would like to encourage people to perhaps not vote a straight ticket. So I have a lot of people who say, I'm going to vote all Democrat or I'm going to vote all Republican. And I have said to them, well, if you want to vote for Donald Trump, I understand, but Donald Trump is not going to be the person that you call when you have a state issue. I'm going to be the person, and this is why I am a better candidate than the Republican running for me. And so, are there people in Iowa that have a Trump and Plant sign? Yes, they are people in our district that are going to support, multiple people. So I tell people, don't just necessarily assume because you're a Democrat or a Republican that you're going to do a straight line ballot. Look at each
Yeah.
candidate, especially at the state and local level. Those are the people who are going to help you in a crisis. And I tell people you're going to miss really quality individuals who have a lot to offer you if you just say, well, I'm going to vote
Agreed.
this way or I'm going to vote that way. Because let's be honest, the president, whoever he or she may be, is probably not going to call you, but your state legislator probably will. And so I just encourage people to make an educated decision about each candidate on the ballot, and also make sure, and this is something, there are a number of measures on the ballot, like in Iowa, we have 2 constitutional amendments, and they are very confusing. They're not written very well. And I've done a lot of work as a volunteer attorney and as a candidate educating people. So do your research on other ballot initiatives that are on there. We're so wrapped up in the presidential part that sometimes we miss other important
Agreed.
things on the back of the ballot, we call it. So please do your research. You can secure a ballot in advance so that you can study it
Mm.
before you go in. It should be available at the county courthouse, and I encourage people to do that. And thank you, Cynthia, for having this incredibly, I think, a cutting edge session today. And thank you for including me as a
You
candidate.
are welcome. This was a wonderful conversation. I have so many more questions, but I know you have to
Yeah.
go,
Let me
Lily.
say let me say
Go
something.
ahead.
I just want to go back to the color purple, the theme that I feel like is our color theme. You know what? There's Democrats, there's Republicans on this live, then I think we're all purple. And what I view that as is that we have way more in common than we have different. And
Yes.
I hope that we will always remember that I just see people get so one-sided, and I'm like, but you know what? Push the politics aside. We are all so much alike. And I wish that we would focus more on how, even if you're voting for so-and-so or so-and-so, we are all really, I think, truly purple. And I just thought that
Oh,
was kind of the theme of
that
today. And
was
I just wanted to
wonderful.
emphasize that.
That was wonderful. One of my political mentors said to me, always remember that in politics, there are no permanent friends or permanent enemies. There are no permanent enemies. And what I've seen on this live is we all have different opinions. We all are passionate about different issues. However, we are unified in one message, and that's telling encouraging everyone to get involved and to vote,
To care. Yeah,
to
just
care,
just just
to care.
care. Yeah.
So, well, that's it. Let's have another conversation after the election. Go ahead, Tamara.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, especially if there's a lot of pageant women that are watching, if you don't think that politics has anything to do with you, just think about your platform. Usually all of our
Yes.
True.
platforms have a higher purpose, have a higher cause,
So
or
true.
or so just think about the fact that you could be advocating at your local level, at the state level, just for, like pets' rights or animal rights or anything like that. You may think it's very small and doesn't have to have a connection with politics, but it can. So even think about, what your platform is and how that's important to you and what candidates are out there on all the different levels that would be in favor for your particular platform or can help you move it forward. So politics is local and it affects everyone, no matter what.
Good point.
Yeah, and it's actually easy for pageant queens to become politicians, actually, because it is the same work. We're advocates. We are advocates.
But
We're
the view in
passionate.
pageants is better, remember.
Yeah, because we get to wear the gowns. I know a politician in Florida. She is always decked out. She's a congresswoman. She's like a pageant queen when it comes to dressing. Always decked out, but very articulate as well. I wanted to say something else. There it goes again. There goes the menopause when you hit
A hot
54.
flash? Are you having a hot
The
flash?
well, I just had the hot flash. I just forgot what I was going to say. Roseanne, I wish you the best of luck.
Thank,
Yes,
God
good
bless
luck.
your
I'm
you.
so proud
campaign.
of you. So proud of
Thank you
you.
And
very much.
I'm waiting for the other two ladies here, the wives of politicians, to jump in and to
Oh,
and
jump in
run
and
for
go.
office.
I think the next thing I jump into will probably be another pageant.
Well, I will not be jumping into another pageant, but I am jumping into supporting my husband 100% as he progresses in his political career. He's doing some wonderful things here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and I'm excited to see him flourish.
Okay, my
That's
psychic
awesome. I'm
And
abilities,
proud of him
my
too.
psychic, my psychic energy is coming in here. Let me just channel my psychic energy. I see a political office in Jamie's future. I see a political
No.
office in Tamara's future. And I already see Roseanne just killing it at the state level in Iowa. So there you have it.
I just I
thank
just
you.
always say I'm too Mexicana to know about American politics. The lingo, the
Mexico.
words, I don't know all that stuff. But then again, as I mentioned earlier, if I talk to them on layman's terms, first grade level, I'll probably be understood. So
Jamie, with that mouth, you are going to be in politics, okay?
I told my husband I would just support him in another race. He's not the county commissioner anymore. We did it for two terms, 8 years in, and he was a little burned out. So we didn't run for reelection. So right now he's just being a regular guy, as he says. But I keep telling him, why don't you jump in the race again? He goes, why don't you jump in the pageant again?
There you go. I'm thinking about jumping for governor. Will I win?
Go for
No.
it.
Go
No, no.
for
But
it.
guess what? It'll be a heck of a branding promo
I was, yeah, political,
and a heck of an advocacy for my widow's projects as
yeah.
well. So there you
We'll
have it.
we'll all make calls for you.
There you
We'll
go.
help you.
There you go.
There
Yeah.
you go. All right,
Sister
ladies, that's it.
supporting
We can be here
sisters.
for another hour. Thank you all so much. If you're watching this, please share this live with a woman who competes in beauty pageants. And if you're watching this, like Roseanne and the other lady says, get familiar with the ballot. Study it. Go out and vote. call your friends, and we will be back, the four of us, after Election Day to talk about the winner and to celebrate.
Sounds good. Can we be in our sweatpants with a donut and hot chocolate?
Bye, ladies.
Bye-bye.
Have a
Have a
Bye-bye.
wonderful
wonderful day.
day.
Bye. Thank you so much. Bye.